There you go.
So welcome everyone to another mindfulness workshop. This one, we're going to be covering how to work with thoughts. So that's going to be the theme, how to apply mindfulness principles and practices to thinking. And now we want to, there we go. But first, let's start with the definition of mindfulness like we always do. We define it at UCLA as paying attention to the present moment experience with openness, curiosity, and a willing to be with what is. And, I really like this definition because it really captures very clearly the different elements that you'll find in any definition of mindfulness. And I present them in those bullet points in this presentation. So you're going to hear different ways of expressing what mindfulness is, but they're always going to refer to some aspect of these 4 elements. And the first one is that we intentionally utilize our awareness. So whether that's focusing inward to anchor, a lot of times we use the breath, and we did that in the first presentation on this mindfulness series. Or you open it up to all your sensory experience or some variation in between. And we're going to be working with that variation in between today. It's also experiential. That means that you're tuning in to what you're experiencing in the body or through your senses. It's got a sense of inquisitiveness that is a place of curiosity, because from a place of curiosity, it's a pretty neutral zone to be in. All things are possible from the space of inquisitiveness and curiosity. And it's all done in the present moment. So it's not about moving deeply into the future and doing all sorts of imaginings, or going into the past and reflecting or touching on regrets. So what mindfulness is not, and I share this slide just because as a disclaimer on the preconceived ideas that people have around meditation and mindfulness. It's not about clearing the mind, although with some steady and consistent practice, you can develop a settled mind and grant like larger periods where there's a certain amount of restfulness that you can experience, even if it's a couple of seconds. And as you progress in your practice, it can be more and more. It's also not about functioning on autopilot, although we can bring the quality of mindfulness and that kind of awareness to observing how we move when we are on autopilot. So for example, for me right now, it's my hand gestures. Also, my eyes are blinking without me necessarily tuning into when they're blinking and how fast they're blinking. That's an autopilot that I can actually turn my awareness to and just observe. Oh yeah, my eyes are blinking. Additionally, mindfulness is not about relaxation. It's a very active practice to be doing, although practicing mindfulness also often leads to the side effect of feeling a sense of relaxation, because 99 out of 100 times when you come into the present moment and you're practicing, things are either neutral or they're okay. And so when we can come into that space and kind of have that recognition, it tends to allow us to relax. So I thought we would start our practice with the 3 centers check-in. And this will be a relatively brief practice where you can take into your day and check into the state of your mind, the state of your feelings, as well as how your body feels. And we're going to do it for a couple of minutes, but as you're moving through your workday, you can actually do 3 centers check-in, micro steps, micro hits, and practice them, at your own leisure as you shift between tasks over the course of the day, or shift gears from work to your commute home, or work to whatever you're doing outside of work. So it's just a really great way to center yourself, come back to yourself. You can also do it if you've experienced something challenging or you're readying yourself for something challenging. So that I invite you to stretch up and settle in. And we're going to begin with 3 deep breaths. And exhaling. You can sigh on the exhale if it helps you arrive, helps you come into your presence, really feel like you're here. Taking a couple of deep breaths, and then whenever you're ready, allowing your breath to go to its natural rhythm. When we do this practice, we can do it with our eyes open or closed, or anything in between. I just invite you to maintain a soft gaze in front of you if you're going to have your eyes open with this practice. First, we're going to notice the state of our mind. So just moving your awareness to your mind space and begin to take stock of what sort of mind you're working with right now. Is it moving very fast? Is it slowing down, or is it already at a constant speed? Is it having many thoughts? Is there one thought that maybe has been with you all day? Is it sluggish? Or is it alert? Is it foggy, spacey, present, curious? These are just all options. Just noticing, it's the state of my mind right now. And there will be periods of silence. That's just some time to allow you to play with and explore whatever the prompt it was that I shared. Sometimes the mind will immediately let go of the task and go scurrying away. And that's okay, because the mindful moment is when we bring it back. Now shifting our awareness down into our upper chest, our heart, our belly, to check in with what sort of emotions are here right now. You might find a couple. You might connect some of the physical sensations in this area to feelings and emotions, but can't quite place it, and that's fine too. You can just offer your attention to those physical sensations that your hunch is they're related to your feelings. So what sorts of feelings am I feeling right now? And where are they showing up in my body? And now we're going to shift gears one more time and offer our attention to how our body's doing right now. You can zoom out and notice the body in whatever posture it's in. Are there areas of tension? Are there areas of softness? Are some areas pleasant and others unpleasant? Yet others maybe are neutral. Just opening up yourself to any and all things that call attention. It might be that there's areas where there's it just feels blank or void. There really isn't any sensation there. And that's a good observation. Recognizing that from the perspective of mindfulness, there is no right or wrong body sensation. We allow our attention and our awareness to meet the body exactly as it is. And now taking a deep breath in and exhaling as we close this practice period, becoming aware of the screen, the space that you're in, maybe even stretching. So this practice is one, like I mentioned, that you can do throughout the day, and you can do it for any duration. It doesn't have to be we did it for about 3.5 minutes, but you can do it for whatever length. It could be just a matter of seconds of like, what's the state of my mind? What's the state of my heart, my emotions? What's the state of my body? And then you can meet that with a skillful response, because you might be tired, might call for a drink of water, might call for a snack. Maybe you're hungry. So it's just a matter of staying really close to the signals and the information that your mind, heart, and body are giving you. So as I mentioned before, today we're going to be working with thoughts. And oftentimes, like our thoughts are so numerous. I was trying to like find the number. I found one that said we had like 70,000 thoughts in a day. And I came upon some research from 2020 that said, in fact, we have about 6 thoughts per day during our wakeful hours. And that's a lot of thinking. And there's a whole range of thoughts, right? We have inspirational thoughts, and we have inventive thoughts, and we have kind thoughts. But we also have difficult thoughts, problematic thoughts, recurring, ruminating thoughts. And the practice is, how can we be with whatever state of thinking and thoughts we're experiencing in the moment? Because the truth of the matter is that these 6,000 thoughts each day don't have a particular bias towards being positive or neutral. It can be positive, neutral, negative. And we know from like the default mode network of how that we've learned from neuroscience and neuroscience research is that the mind tends to have a negative bias. So how do we walk through our day-to-day wakeful life and be with thoughts, especially ones that are really calling our attention. Given the fact that thoughts are particularly sticky and compelling, in that if you think about an opinion that you hold about something, we're usually pretty sure about our opinions and circumstances. Oftentimes, when we meet an opinion that differs from ours, we're constantly asking, like, what's your source? Where would you get that idea? Where would you get that impression? Whereas if it's someone is resonating our same compelling, sticky thought, we don't necessarily ask for proof, right? And so it's kind of interesting to think, okay, we actually, when we teach mindfulness and working with thoughts, we leave it towards the end because they are hard to unpack. But in truth, thoughts affect our communication and our listening skills. So a lot of times when you think about, all these racing thoughts, and you're listening to someone, even right now, as you're listening to me talk about thinking and thoughts, you're processing, you're comparing it to previous information that you might have around this. Maybe you're judging it to some degree. Maybe you're comparing it to your own experience. So we're constantly, as we're receiving information, putting it into buckets, evaluating it. But what would it be like to let thoughts be, to let them just pass, come through and pass without us really necessarily weighing in on their value or how right or wrong they may be? So the practice I thought we would do today in practicing with thoughts is a practice from the Unified Mindfulness curriculum called See, Hear, Feel. And we're going to walk through each one of these individually, and then we're going to do a practice through all of them so you can have an experience. But as we talk through each category of see, hear, and feel, I invite you to test it for yourself as we're going through it. So the first category is see. And there's two options when in each of these categories. One is seeing in or seeing, and the other is seeing out. Seeing in is all the mental images that we have, whether it's memories or a future plan, daydreaming. It's everything that you actually can visualize in your mind's eye. Seeing out is the whatever you can see out within your actual visual field. Now, in each of these subcategories, there is another layer of active and restful activity. So when you're kind of focusing in your mind's eye, so when you close your eyes, what is coming up on the screen when you close your eyes in your mind's eye? Are there, again, memories coming up, visualizations, daydreaming, or is it black or light? You might see colors, you might see floaters or movement. It might even be just blank, but no real images. The former we classify as an active state, where you're actually pulling up images, and this kind of just shaded screen, maybe it's even a gray screen that you see, without any images, is one that we refer to as rest. Same thing when we're kind of looking out into the world, we have the active state of, for example, when we're noting something and recognizing it, labeling it for what it is, or we're seeing shapes and colors and densities and size. And then that's a very active engagement of our seeing and visual ability, whereas in the restful state, it's kind of that hazy, kind of not focused on anything, ability to take in the whole picture, but not place your visual field on any particular thing. The next field that we're going to work in is our hearing. And in here, you also have hearing in and hearing out. Hearing in is what you hear in your self-talk, mental talk, the dialogue that goes on. And a lot of times, if you think about what thoughts are, they are some combination, either of just that self-mental talk, or you've got images from the C field of seeing in, as well as a hearing component. So when you're hearing in and it's active, there's actually clearer words or sentences. They can even be softer in terms of feeling more like a whisper, or it can have a very restful sense in that you don't hear any mental talk at all, and it's or it's very, very unclear. Like you don't experience any sort of activity in the hear space internally. Hearing out is all the sounds in your environment and those that are happening in your body. So right now we're just coming off of lunch maybe, and you might be experiencing some gurgling in your belly and you might hear it. That is a hear out if it's loud enough. As well, hear out is when we follow our breathing, for example. Usually we're following the sensation of breathing, the physical sensation, but also if we pay attention, we can also hear ourselves breathing. So active states in the hear space are hear out space, to be specific, is noticing all the ambient noises that are going on. And the restful state is when you have periods of silence. And the last category that we're going to experience is the feel space, feeling in and out. So feeling in, we classify as all of those states that we experience with our emotional body. So where am I feeling, if there is an emotion here, where am I feeling it in the body? And a restful feel in space would be when you're having relatively peaceful activity in the emotional space. So there can't really pinpoint a particular physical sensation that's being triggered by an emotional state. Feel out is all our tactile senses, our physical sensations. So when it's active, you're feeling temperature, movement, your breathing, your heartbeat, areas of tension and softness in the body. You're noting if things are pleasant, unpleasant, or they're kind of blank when we were noting that. In the blank space, when you experience blank, and that was why when we were doing the 3 centers check-in, it actually falls into the restful state. So there's an absence of sensation, and you can just rest into that. Like notice it and see how long it lasts. Notice how if you can kind of maintain, once you find it, that restful state in your body sensations, can I let the rest of the stuff that's going on or kind of feeling like it's trying to intrude on this be in the background and stay with this restful feel state in the foreground of my mind and just really offer up my full attention to it? So this is the practice of see, hear, feel. I wanted to go over it with you in this kind of methodical way so that you can always revisit it and check it out and stop and test it out if you're going to be watching this later on. But for now, we're going to practice together, see, hear, feel. So again, I invite you to stretch out and out. And as a reminder, you can do this in any posture. I just invite you to, for this practice, not to do it in movement, but you can do it laying down or sitting or standing. And it's just so we can kind of narrow in on the sensations. So we'll start with see out. And seeing out, we're looking out into the world, taking in images, objects, noticing any and all colors, shapes, shades. What's it like to move the eyes around? And what happens if we just maintain a still gaze? Is it as active? Just something to explore. Now from here, I'd like you to close your eyes if it's comfortable, or just really soften your gaze by slightly opening them if it's not comfortable to close them all the way. And just begin to notice what is there. Has the visual field softened? Are you seeing shades of dark or colors? Is it blank, or is there still mental activity when you close your eyes? There's still images floating through. And the mind might wander, might go to the sounds, physical sensations. See if you can just stay with the visual field, looking in. What do you see? Now shifting to our sense of hearing. Let's start with hearing out. That could be noises that are in the room, outside the room. You can even experiment with how far away a sound you can pick up. You can let the attention move from sound to sound, noticing its pitch, its rhythm, its volume. You might even check out any sounds, like I said, stomach gurgling, the sound of your breath. If you have ringing in the ears, my voice. You might check into the starts and ends of sounds. And if you experience any silence, see if you can rest in to any silence that you might notice for as long as it lasts. And now taking a moment to move that hearing into hearing in, noticing if there are any clear words, sentences, whispers, dialogue that you might be experiencing in your mind. They might be full sentences or maybe just words that come to mind that are coming and going. See if you can open up to listening to them without getting caught up in any of the details. You might even like to notice where you're feeling them in your head. Are the thoughts coming in fast or slow? Are they loud? Are they faint? If the mind goes quiet, you can just let it do that. Rest in that space. You can explore the rest by noticing where you sense the quiet. Letting it be in the foreground and letting all the other things, all the other senses be in the background. Now shifting gears one more time, becoming aware of our physical sensations, just opening up to our sense of smell, taste, our body breathing, maybe the temperature in the room, the temperature over areas of our body that are exposed versus those areas that are closed. Areas of contact, if we're seated or laying down, of our feet, if we're standing. Just noticing any and all sensations. Some may be pleasant, some may be unpleasant, some might not be either. You can notice that too. And now shifting one more time, but now feeling in and noticing any areas where you're sensing an emotion. We know that we each have our own unique way of feeling particular emotions. So you might want to check on your face, in your chest, in your belly. Are there any particular emotions here right now? And if so, how am I experiencing them in my body? And here too, there might not be any. Maybe all the physical sensations that you might be experiencing don't have an emotion connected to it. You can just rest in that there isn't any sort of emotion shifting around right now. And since we've refined our experience of see, hear, feel, we can now practice by opening ourselves up to whatever is calling our attention and begin to label it as a see, whether it's in your mind's eye or from the external world. Hear, whether it's an internal dialogue or an ambient sound, or feel, whether it's based on an emotional sensation or just a physical sensation absent of emotions. So you can start now by opening up your awareness fully, and as things come up, label them. Is it see? Is it hear? Is it feel? If it's a combination of one, two, or all three, labeling it that way. If it had all three, it would be see, hear, feel. If it's mental talk with a movie playing in the back of your mind of what that thought is, you can label that as see, hear. And of course, you can label them individually. I invite you to do this every 5 to 10 seconds, labeling what you just experienced in that way. And staying really playful with it, experimenting, knowing that there isn't like a perfect way of labeling. Labeling what you can, moving on to the next. See, hear, feel. So when we label in this way, if a thought comes through, we note its qualities of see, hear, feel, not getting involved in the details of it. Even if it's a persistent thought, you can just continually label it. So as we come to close this period of practice, I invite you to take a moment and offer yourself some gratitude for taking the time for yourself to build this skill. Now taking a deep breath and exhaling, becoming aware of the space that you're in, the presentation, your body, maybe stretching a bit if that feels comfortable for you. So we have a little bit of time for any questions and thoughts, but I just want to encourage you to work with whatever it is that you find with these practices. Some of them are going to come a little easier than others. I love see, hear, feel because it actually is something that I can do all day long. So I'm basically practicing all day long because everything can be bucketed into a see in or out, hear in or out, or feel in or out, or some combination of them. So I thought I would share this practice because it's something that you can do for any duration. You can do it in the way that we did it for an extended period, or you can do it on the fly, as you go about your day. So with that, I just wanted to see if there are any questions or takeaways or reports about either of the two practices that we did today. Okay. So without any questions, reports, or takeaways, I just wanted to share a couple of resources. Let me see if I can move this a bit. Okay. And I wanted to share that this See, Hear, Feel practice is from the Unified Mindfulness core program. And if you want to do a self-paced course that's at no cost, it's at unifiedmindfulness.com/CORE. Additionally, you can always access the UCLA Mindful app. That's also free. And the 3 centers check-in practice that we did in the beginning, it can be found there. You can also find all of the audio meditations through the UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center at uclahealth.org/marc/audio, AUDIO. And there they have it in multiple languages. So, they have Russian, I think they have Arabic, they have Spanish, Chinese. So I just invite you to explore those two links for Unified Mindfulness. If See, Hear, Feel is something you want to delve deep into, or the Three Centers Check-In and the offerings at UCLA. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you again.